Meanwhile, let's just talk about this report about, let's do the Iran stuff first. There was a report today in the New York Times that the White House is reviewing plans, military plans against Iran. At a meeting of President Trump's top national security aides last Thursday, acting defense secretary, we don't have a defense secretary, incidentally. We haven't had one for what, over a year now? When was it Mattis was gone?
I think Shanahan was recently appointed. I don't know if he's been confirmed.
He's acting.
Yet.
He's
Okay.
acting defense secretary.
We're going to go back to calling it the Secretary of War.
He presented an updated military plan that calls for sending as many as 120,000 troops to the Middle East should Iran attack American forces or accelerate work on nuclear weapons. That's a big or there, isn't it? And it's also pretty vague. What does accelerate work on nuclear weapons mean? Does that mean accelerate work on weapons that could carry nuclear warheads? Does that mean accelerate work on potential dual use enrichment of uranium? We don't know. The revisions were ordered by hardliners led by John Bolton. They do not call for a land invasion of Iran, which would require vastly more troops. So, 120,000 is just what you need if you're just going to stand by while you bomb Iran. It is unclear whether the president has been briefed on the number of troops or other details in the plan. Here is Donald Trump being asked if he was seeking regime change in Iran.
War with Iran. Are you seeking regime change?
We'll see what happens with Iran. If they do anything, it would be a very bad mistake. If they do anything, I'm hearing little stories about Iran. If they do anything, they will suffer greatly. We'll see what happens with Iran.
The Mad King has heard little stories about what they're doing in Iran. And of course, one of those stories was that the UAE claimed that 4 ships were attacked the other day. One was Finnish, 2 were Saudi. I can't remember what the 4th one was. Emirati. The story now is that the Finnish boat was attacked by something in the water. And that the Saudi boats, though there has been no pictures of damage done to these boats, there were no deaths, there was no leaking of oil, were attacked by something else that came from somewhere else, maybe a drone.
UFO?
Well, yes, of sorts.
In a certain sense.
But somehow they figured out that it's Iran or Iranian proxies, which could basically be anybody but the Saudis or the UAE folks, I guess, right? Theoretically, it's all divided up into 2. You're either on Team Saudi and UAE, or you're obviously on Team Iran, according to them. So there's a lot of vagaries. And Mike Pompeo, in a last-minute meeting change, apparently he's scuttling all over the place, head to Europe to talk to European allies on Monday. And presumably he was looking for some support, maybe. We don't know. But here is the EU response to their meeting with Mike Pompeo. This is Federica Mogherini in Brussels.
Mike Pompeo heard that very clearly today from us, not only from myself, but also from the other ministers of EU member states, that we are living in a crucial, delicate moment where the most relevant attitude to take, the most responsible attitude to take is, and we believe should be, that of maximum restraint and avoiding any escalation on a military side.
So in other words, not interested is what the EU has to say. Meanwhile, Pompeo is to meet Putin today to ostensibly we'll be talking about that as well. We should say that Pompeo literally crashed the Brussels meeting of the EU. They weren't anticipating him. They just showed up there. And presumably, maybe he has special satellite images because the satellite images showed no damage to the sabotaged Saudi ships. It could have been mental sabotage, emotional sabotage of the ships. That doesn't show up on
Sonic
satellite
sabotage.
There are some people who suggest that the military option that was offered, that is being reported now to Bolton, in the event of a non-ground war, non-ground invasion of Iran of 120,000 troops, is the military signaling to the civilian leadership, we're going to make this very hard for you. We're going to tell you that you need 120,000 troops, which is a lot of troops, to do whatever it is that you think you want to do. So good luck marshaling those forces and good luck marshaling the public opinion that is necessary for that. There was an interesting piece that this guy, Mika Zenko, wrote in Foreign Policy. This back in 2012. I think I saw this on Twitter, where he suggests that there are different times where the military frames decisions of presidents by offering solutions to what they want that are either discouraging or encouraging. So, for instance, you want to be the general who the Bush administration embraces, you go and say, we can do this. 100,000 troops, 5 or 6 days, we'll wrap this thing up. The toughest part will be getting the candy and flowers, scraped off our uniforms when they throw it to us in Iraq. Or you can be General Shinseki and say, this is going to cost trillions of dollars, and we shouldn't do this. And then you can then get summarily sent out to pasture. But that is basically...
This is so deep. It's a deep state.
Yeah, exactly. So that's possibly what's going on now. And, the one thing that the Trump administration seems to keep proving over and over again is that they're really unqualified even in pursuit of their own decrepit agenda. And so hopefully their incompetence will win the day. Bolton, as much as he is positioned, presumably, to get his way and to convince Trump of something, hopefully won't be able to do it. But we shall see. I don't think, Brendan asked me when we came in today, do you think the public has an appetite for this? And my answer is no. I'm not convinced that they understand that in the White House. And I don't know that that would be a deterrent. And I don't know, right now you have Marco Rubio calling for an investigation, calling on Barr to have an investigation of John Kerry's meeting with the Iranians, trying to convince them, I guess it was last year, not to allow the U.S. The U.S. is pulling out of the Iran nuke deal to force Iran to pick up their enrichment of uranium again. He wanted to convince them to hang in there and essentially, work with the Europeans. And Rubio wants to investigate whether John Kerry broke the Logan Act. And I'll tell you something. It's so perverse because there's so many instances of people breaking the Logan Act. I mean, Trump, I think, arguably did during the campaign. Certainly what Flynn did in the run-up to the Trump administration taking office seems to have broken the Logan Act. Jared Kushner broke the Logan Act. Others.
Is Eric Prince part of the Trump administration?
Eric Prince. I mean, this happens all the time. Now, usually it's for really horrific things. I think the Reagan administration, the people did too, is with Iran. Henry Kissinger, right? In the Paris peace talks.
Yeah, the Vietnamese Paris peace talks.
Usually, when people break the Logan Act, more often than not, it is to encourage killing and more war. John Kerry was trying to salvage a deal with Iran that basically, at the time, eliminated an enemy of the United States. I mean, made at least a one that could create real danger in the world. But of course, Marco Rubio, one of the good Republicans.